Hey Brody, Miss Moore here. I'm sorry this is a little later, but I was trying to record it at school, and of course, my internet started lagging. There was such a terrible delay. So I had to wait till I got home. But, anyways, I hope the lessons have been pretty easy for you so far. If you have any questions, email me, message me, or post on Google Classroom, just whatever. I'm going to take a look at your assignments later on tonight and just see how you've been doing. So let's take a look at this lesson today. Now it is very similar to our lesson from yesterday. So yesterday we were talking about equations with two operations. Well, now we're going to adventure into equations with multiple operations, more than one operation. Now, we have used tables before to show equations with one operation. Today, we're going to look at tables that show equations with two operations. So remember, our tables will always have an input, which is what we start with, and the output, which is what we get. All right, so let's take a look at example 1. I'm going to kind of zoom it in there a little bit. Let me do that. That'll make it a little bit bigger. And then it's at 60 right now. Let's see. All right, so that's not too bad. So let's take a look at this first example. Example 1 says that Sam earns $7 each time he rakes his neighbor's lawn. Okay, he also earns $5 each week for doing chores at home. Sam wants to find what he will earn in a week if he does chores and rakes the lawn 1, 2, and 3 times. So we've got to think about our equation and what it would be. This is the perfect problem for a table because I'm using 3 different quantities, 3 different amounts that I have to solve for. So let's think about what happens. We know that Sam's going to earn $7 for every yard for every time he rakes his neighbor's lawn. But his number of times that he's going to rake the lawn is going to change. So that needs to be my variable. And since it says each, we know we need to multiply. And I do need to put parentheses around this because I have to keep my price per time that he rakes with the number of times that he rakes. So that's what he will make each time he rakes the lawn. Now, he also earns $5 each week, not each time, but each week. So we're going to add $5 to my number of times that he rakes the lawn, and that's going to give me my total. So there's my equation. Now let's look down at the table they have given us. All right, so let's take a look at filling in this table. So right now we're still starting out with 2 equations, but we're taking a look at using a table. So what you would need to do, now they have solved the first input for us. Whenever he rakes the yard 1 time, we would insert 1 where that T is. Then we would add 5 to it, and we would get 12. So once we input that amount, we'd have to go back to our PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay. All right. And here, so during 1 week, if Sam rakes the lawn once, he will earn $12. If he rakes the lawn twice, so let's see what happens when I insert the 2. I say 7 times 2 is 14, plus 5 is 19, which they already did that for us too. And then 3 times, if he rakes the lawn 3 times, he will earn, so let's see. We do what's in parentheses first, and we get 26. Now, you will notice a pattern along the output and the input, but here's the thing. You can't use the pattern to base your answers because they will eventually skip an input so that you have to rely on the equation. And if you just go down through putting these outputs based off of a pattern, they will trick you and you'll wind up missing it. So be careful. All right, so if he rakes the lawn 3 times, he'll earn $26. So let's take a look at the next example. Now, we know equations can have multiple operations. We've looked at that. So let's see what happens when we have more than 2 operations. Complete the table to find output numbers when x equals to 2, 3, 4, and 5. So here is my equation for my table. I see 2 times 9 minus x in parentheses plus 3 equals y. So when my x is 1, my output is 19. Let's see what my output is when my input is 2. So on this, what you're going to have to do, because there are more than 2 operations, you need to write these down so you can see and process which operations need to come first as you work the problem. So I wasn't going to do that. So let's write this, and instead of putting that x, I'm just going to go ahead. Let me use a different color just to show you what's happening. But go ahead and put that 2 right there. So I have 2 times 9 minus 2 in parentheses plus 3 equals y. So of course, using PEMDAS, we do what's in parentheses first. 9 minus 2 is 7. Drop down 2 times 7 plus 3 equals y. All right. This is one of the main reasons why I want you to write these down, is because right here, you need to see that your next operation that needs to happen is that multiplication, because multiplication comes before addition in our PEMDAS. So I get 14 plus 3 equals y, and my y equals to 17. All right. Now let's see what happens when my x is 3. So I'm going to say 2 times 9 minus 3 plus 3 equals y. 9 minus 3 goes first because it's in parentheses. I get 6. 2 times 6 plus 3 equals y. All right, so I see now that I have to multiply first. Here, I get 12 plus 3 equals y. So when x is 3, y is 15. Now, you can already see that there's a pattern starting to develop. 19, then 17, then 15. So it seems that we're decreasing by 2. And that's fine. And if you want to assume that what comes next would be 13 and then 11, but you definitely have to double check it by working out an equation. I am going to be a stickler for seeing your work on here. So let's double check and make sure that when x is 4, y is 13. So 2 times 9 minus 4 plus 3 equals y. So what is in parentheses goes first. 2 times 5 plus 3 equals y. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3 equals y. And then 10 plus 3 is 13. So very good. And then, so I was just checking to make sure that my answer was right, and it was. So now let's check this last input of 5. 2 times 9 minus 5 plus 3 equals 1. Okay, 9 minus 5 goes first because it is in parentheses. 2 times 4 plus 3 equals y. 2 times 4 goes next because it is multiplication. 8 plus 3 is 11. So that worked out as well. So my pattern did work, and that's great, wonderful. But there's no guarantee that they're not going to skip one of these inputs, or that you're not going to be given the equation alone. So you have to know how to input those variables, which isn't hard, but a lot of people want to take that shortcut and just do the pattern, and that can get you into some trouble. So when x is 3, y is, 15. When x is 4, y is 13. And when x is 5, y is 11. Now, it wants us to describe patterns that we see in the table. So, a pattern that we see in this table is it's really big. It's still really big. Okay, maybe I'm just going to start out right here. So one pattern that I see in the table is that the output values decrease by 2 each time, and the x values increase by 1. Also, the output values are all odd numbers. So let's see if I can stretch that out so you can read it a little bit better. All right, so those are observations, and you guys are really good at making those observations. Just don't use the observations to rely on those observations. Don't rely on them for your answers, because those test people are tricky, and they will use that to trick you. So just looking back at this, Talk Math, explain how tables can help you solve a problem. Tables help us organize my information so that I can visualize it better. All right, so taking a look at guided practice, we've got to complete this table. So first we want to find our equation, and now realize that input is my x, so that's where I'm going to be placing all of my inputs, and my output is y, which is what I will get, what I will be finding. So they have, of course, solved the first one for us. So let's use this equation to find the values of y for 2, 3, and 4. So what you can do is go ahead and rewrite this equation. So for x, I'm going to write 2. 15 plus 2 times 4 equals y. It's really important to make sure that you write it exactly as it is up here, because that will cause you to get it wrong if you don't. PEMDAS says that I have to do my parentheses first, so I get 7 times 4 equals y, and 7 times 4 is 28. So when x is 2, y is 28. All right, let's try the next input of 3. So I'll rewrite it. 5 plus 3 times 4 equals y. Parentheses comes first. 8 times 4 is 32. Whoops. I should have written the variable. Sorry. It's been a long day. So when x is 3, y is 32. Now, let's take a look at the input of 4. When my input is 4, I have to do what's in parentheses first, and I get 20. Look, do not make this mistake. I had people do this all day today, and I think it has rubbed off. 5 plus 4, do not multiply. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. So when x is 4, y is 36. And you can find a pattern here. Each time we're increasing by 4, each time we're increasing by 1. My inputs alternate between odd and even, odd and even. My outputs are all even numbers. And so far, it has a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 3. All right. So again, hope this was an easy lesson. If you don't understand, let me know. This will be your classwork in Google Classroom. This is the second page of your classwork. It's all on the same assignment. And then your homework will be 4 problems. Now, this is your homework helper. And then here are 4 problems for homework. So when you do this work, please work it out. I know this is kind of tough, but work it out on some scratch paper, and it really doesn't matter what kind, if it's copy paper, notebook paper, whatever it may be. But work it out and just send me an email of it like you've been doing. You've been so awesome. Brody, I would like to say that so far you have been one of the best quarantine distance learners. I really appreciate that. And it makes my life less stressful because I'm not as panicked about you learning from home because you and mom and dad are on top of things. And you're just an awesome student. We miss you, bud. We miss you so much. It won't be long. Just rest, get well. I hope you're feeling all right, and let me know if you need anything. Good night, bud.